Most people have no idea that the difference between feeling tired, inflamed, and drained and feeling alive again could be as simple as adding 3 forgotten vegetables to their plate. Not supplements, not pills, not some miracle detox. Just 3 vegetables your ancestors relied on for survival, vegetables modern diets have nearly erased. And the shocking part, these foods don't just nourish you, they can literally save your life. Or most people walk past these 3 vegetables without ever realizing the extraordinary power they hold because they don't come in fancy packages, they're not marketed as exotic superfoods, and they don't promise overnight miracles. Yet inside these humble plants are some of the most protective, healing, and life-extending compounds nature has ever created. These aren't trendy ingredients meant to spike your dopamine for a week. These are the vegetables humans relied on for centuries to survive harsh winters, long famines, and disease outbreaks. And somewhere along the way, we abandoned them. We traded time-tested nourishment for convenience, flavor enhancers, and foods that excite your tongue but quietly damage your gut. But when you reintroduce these 3 vegetables into your daily life, something extraordinary happens. Your body reacts like it's finally receiving the nutrients it's been missing for years. What makes these vegetables different is not just what they contain, but how they communicate with your biology. They don't merely provide vitamins, they activate healing systems inside your body that only awaken when certain plant compounds arrive. These compounds, polyphenols, resistant fibers, prebiotic starches, and detoxifying phytochemicals, signal your gut to produce more mucus, strengthen the intestinal wall, and repair microscopic damage inflicted by years of inflammatory foods. The mucus layer thickens, the gut lining tightens, leakage slows, inflammation retreats. It's as if your gut has been waiting for reinforcements, and suddenly these vegetables show up like a rescue team. The first shift you experience is often in your digestion. Your stomach feels lighter, less burdened, because these vegetables don't inflame your gut. They soothe it. Their fibers feed beneficial bacteria that create butyrate, the short-chain fatty acid your gut depends on for healing. When butyrate levels rise, inflammation drops, cravings calm down, and your mental clarity improves. These bacteria, your personal internal army, finally get the nourishment they need to fight off the harmful species that thrive on sugar and modern processed foods. With just 1 serving a day, the gut ecosystem begins shifting in your favor. But the benefits don't stay in your gut. They move outward. The antioxidants in these vegetables help neutralize free radicals that cause cellular damage. Your mitochondria, the energy factories in every cell, begin functioning more efficiently. You feel more awake, more resilient, more stable. These vegetables contain plant compounds that activate detox pathways in your liver, allowing your body to clear toxins that once made you feel bloated, sluggish, or moody. Many people notice their skin brightening, their joints becoming less stiff, and their brain fog lifting. These changes aren't magic. They're the natural consequence of lowering inflammation and improving gut permeability. These 3 vegetables also contain minerals and nutrients that regulate blood sugar, support the heart, and protect against oxidative stress. They help flatten glucose spikes that drain your energy and push your body toward weight gain. They calm the immune system by balancing the trillions of microbes living in your intestines. They supply sulfur compounds and bitter molecules that your ancestors consumed daily, but modern diets almost never include. Compounds that stimulate digestion, cleanse the liver, and protect cells from aging. These vegetables do the work your body has long forgotten how to do because they activate ancient biological programs designed to keep you alive and healthy. What's most surprising to people is how quickly their body responds. Within days of adding these vegetables, some notice a shift in their energy or mood. Within a couple of weeks, digestion becomes smoother, cravings shrink, and inflammation begins to settle. By the end of a month, many people feel like they've stepped into a younger version of themselves, lighter, clearer, calmer, and more in control. These vegetables don't heal you because they are special in a trendy way. They heal you because they align with the biology you were built for. They repair what modern foods have broken. They nourish systems your body has been struggling to maintain. They awaken natural healing pathways that have been dormant under layers of inflammation and processed food damage. And once these vegetables become a daily part of your life, you begin to understand what true nourishment feels like. Not a burst of energy followed by a crash, but a steady, grounded sense of vitality that grows stronger each day. Your body recognizes these vegetables instantly because they are the foods it evolved with, the foods that connected ancient humans to long life, resilience, and health. When you start eating them today, you're not just adding vegetables to your plate. You're restoring a lost relationship between your body and the plants that once helped it thrive. Most people never realize their body is quietly signaling a deep nutritional deficiency, not because they aren't eating enough food, but because they aren't eating the right kinds of food, the kinds specifically designed by nature to heal. When the three life-saving vegetables are missing from your daily routine, your body begins to send subtle warnings. These warnings are easy to ignore at first because they don't feel dramatic. They feel like normal life. A little bloating after meals, a dip in energy in the afternoon, difficulty concentrating, dry skin, stubborn belly fat that clings no matter how clean you think you're eating. But none of these are random. They're signs that your gut is starving for very specific fibers, polyphenols, and plant nutrients only these vegetables can provide. Without them, your microbiome becomes imbalanced, and your body begins operating on backup systems rather than optimal ones. One of the earliest signs is unpredictable digestion. Not painful, not extreme, just inconsistent. Some days everything feels fine. Other days you feel heavy, puffy, or backed up. This inconsistency happens because the beneficial bacteria in your gut are underfed. These bacteria rely on prebiotic fibers that come specifically from these vegetables. Without those fibers, the good bacteria weaken while the inflammatory species begin to dominate. This shift affects far more than digestion. It affects your brain, your hormones, your cravings, and your immune system. Your gut isn't just asking for food, it's asking for the right kind of fuel. Another sign is hidden inflammation. You may not see it, but you feel it. Low-level joint stiffness in the morning, tension in your neck or lower back, a sense that your body is aging faster than it should. This inflammation builds slowly because the antioxidants and polyphenols from the three key vegetables are missing. These compounds don't just reduce inflammation, they deactivate the precise pathways that create it. Without them, inflammation becomes your body's default setting. You adapt to it. You call it getting older. But biologically, it's a nutrient deficiency wearing the disguise of age. Your skin also begins to reveal the absence of these vegetables. Dry patches, uneven texture, redness around the nose or mouth, breakouts that show up out of nowhere. These are all signs of a gut ecosystem that can't detox properly. When your gut bacteria don't receive the fibers and phytonutrients they need, they stop producing the short chain fatty acids that keep your skin hydrated, elastic, and calm. Skin issues are often gut issues wearing a mask, and when the gut microbiome is deprived of the specific compounds in these vegetables, the skin becomes dull, irritated, or inflamed, no matter how expensive your skincare routine is. Your brain also feels the absence. You might notice difficulty focusing, forgetting simple things, losing your train of thought, or feeling mentally slower. This is not a lack of caffeine. It's a lack of polyphenols and plant antioxidants that cross the blood-brain barrier and protect your neurons from stress. When these vegetables are missing, oxidative stress quietly increases and your brain begins operating in a fog. The microbiome also plays a role here. A starving microbiome produces fewer neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA, which normally keep your mind clear and stable. You feel off, but you don't know why. Another sign is cravings, especially cravings for sugar or processed carbs. When you don't feed your beneficial gut bacteria the compounds found in these vegetables, the harmful bacteria that thrive on sugar begin to multiply. These microbes send chemical signals that feel like cravings. This isn't lack of discipline, it's microbial imbalance. The very bacteria that hijack your cravings begin to dominate because the foods that keep them in check are missing from your plate. Most people fight cravings with willpower, but the real solution is feeding the right bacteria. Weight resistance is another powerful sign. You may try dieting, cutting calories, or exercising harder, yet nothing changes. That's because your weight is being regulated by inflammation, insulin signaling, and microbial balance, all of which depend on the nutrients found in these vegetables. When they're missing, your body stays in fat preservation mode. Hormones like leptin and ghrelin become confused. Your metabolism slows and you stay stuck, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your gut doesn't have the tools it needs to shift your body into healing and fat-burning mode. Even your mood becomes a reflection of this nutritional gap. Irritability, sadness without cause, emotional ups and downs, these can emerge when your microbiome is undernourished. These vegetables contain compounds that directly support the bacteria responsible for producing mood-regulating neurotransmitters. Without them, those bacteria shrink and silence their output, and you feel the emotional consequences. All these subtle signals, digestive inconsistencies, cravings, inflammation, brain fog, skin issues, mood changes, stubborn weight, are your body's quiet way of saying something is missing. Not medicine, not supplements, not complicated protocols, but simple, powerful, ancient vegetables your system was designed to depend on. And once you bring these three vegetables back into your daily life, these symptoms don't just improve. They fade, soften, and often disappear entirely because the body finally receives what it's been asking for all along. Most people don't realize that the very moment they remove these three vegetables from their meals, or simply never eat them in the first place, the gut begins to lose one of its most powerful defenses, its ability to repair itself. The gut lining isn't a static wall. It's a living, breathing barrier that renews itself every few days, but only if it's given the exact nutrients it needs. When those nutrients are missing, even the healthiest looking meals can silently create microscopic damage. A little bit of lectin exposure here, a little bit of bacterial imbalance there, and suddenly the tight junctions of the gut begin to loosen. Not enough to cause dramatic pain, but just enough to allow tiny particles, foods, toxins, bacterial fragments, to slip through, and the immune system reacts to every one of them as if it's under attack. Without these vegetables supporting the repairing process, your gut becomes a constant battleground and your immune system never gets to rest. Your body is forced to compensate. It pulls resources from everywhere. Your energy reserves, your hormone balance, even your brain clarity, to keep inflammation under control. Over time, this tug-of-war becomes your normal. You wake up tired, you go to sleep tired, you feel heavy after meals, even when you're eating clean. You start thinking that maybe this is what getting older feels like, but it's not age, it's the slow erosion of gut integrity that happens when the essential compounds in these vegetables are missing. There's something remarkable about these three vegetables. They contain prebiotic fibers that act as construction material for the gut wall itself. They feed the exact strains of bacteria responsible for producing the short-chain fatty acids that rebuild your intestinal lining. Without these fibers, those bacteria shrink, weaken, or disappear entirely. And without those bacteria, your gut is left with no tools to patch the small injuries created by stress, preservatives, pesticides, antibiotics, and inflammatory foods. You may not feel these injuries immediately, but your body does. The immune system senses every tiny tear. Every time it responds, inflammation rises just a little more. This is why people suddenly develop food sensitivities they never had before, why they react to meals that never bothered them, why they feel bloated after foods they ate comfortably for years. But the story gets deeper. These vegetables are packed with polyphenols, those deep, vibrant plant compounds that act like firefighters inside the gut. Polyphenols don't just reduce inflammation, they block the specific inflammatory pathways opened by a weakened gut lining. When these vegetables disappear from your diet, those pathways stay open all day, every day. It becomes incredibly easy for your gut environment to shift toward dysbiosis, a microbial imbalance where harmful bacteria begin to take the lead. These bacteria love sugar, simple carbs, processed foods, and stress. They thrive in environments where the gut lining is weak. They ferment the foods you eat in ways that create gas, bloating, toxicity, and inflammation, and they produce chemicals that disrupt appetite control, hormone signaling, and even mood stability. The absence of these vegetables also affects the gut's ability to detoxify. Your gut is one of the body's main detox systems, but it can only neutralize toxins properly when the right bacteria are active. These bacteria rely on the compounds found in these vegetables to survive. Without them, the gut struggles to break down environmental toxins and metabolic waste. Your liver gets overwhelmed, you feel sluggish, your skin tries to help by pushing toxins out, creating acne, rashes, or redness. And all of this happens silently, gradually, without dramatic symptoms, until one day you hit your threshold and think something big is wrong. But the root was always the same. The gut was never given the raw materials it needs to stay sealed, strong, and balanced. When these three vegetables are reintroduced, the gut begins waking up. The beneficial bacteria return. The gut lining starts repairing. Inflammation begins lowering. Hormones start signaling properly. Cravings weaken. Digestion becomes smoother. Energy becomes steadier. And you start experiencing something most people have forgotten is even possible. Your body working the way it was designed to. Most people go through their entire lives never giving their gut a true 30-day reset. They try a new supplement for a week, cut out one food for a few days, or add a healthy snack here and there. But the gut doesn't respond to half measures. It was designed to repair itself only when the environment is stable, when the same positive inputs arrive daily and the same damaging triggers are removed consistently. That's why the 30-day rule is non-negotiable. It isn't about discipline. It isn't about restriction. It's about giving your gut a window of time where it isn't constantly fighting an uphill battle. When you remove the major irritants, even the hidden ones, and supply the exact nutrients found in these three vegetables every single day, the gut finally has a chance to switch out of survival mode and into repair mode. And once that switch is flipped, changes begin happening beneath the surface long before you feel them. In the first few days, something subtle happens. Your gut microbes begin reorganizing. The harmful strains, the ones that thrive on sugar and inflammation, begin losing their fuel source. At the same time, the beneficial strains, the ones responsible for healing the gut lining, regulating your immune system, and producing neurotransmitters, begin receiving a steady flow of prebiotics and polyphenols from these vegetables. Your gut starts recalibrating. This shift is so quiet and internal that many people mistake it for nothing happening. But that's the deceptive part of gut healing. The most important changes are invisible at first. The immune system starts calming down. The inflammatory pathways that have been firing nonstop begin slowing. The gut lining starts patching micro tears. All of this long before you feel better. Around week 2, your body begins sending signals that the healing is real. Meals that used to cause heaviness or discomfort start digesting more easily. Energy becomes more stable throughout the day. You wake up feeling slightly clearer, slightly lighter. Cravings begin to loosen their grip, not because of willpower, but because the bacteria that demanded sugar are losing ground. The gut lining becomes more resilient, meaning fewer food particles leak into the bloodstream and fewer immune alarms go off. Your body finally stops fighting threats that were never meant to escape the gut in the first place. This is when you realize that gut healing isn't about eating less, it's about eating right and giving your biology what it's been missing. By week 3, the compounding effect becomes undeniable. The beneficial bacteria are now dominant, thriving on the steady intake of nutrients from the 3 vegetables. They produce short-chain fatty acids that strengthen the intestinal wall, improve insulin sensitivity, and lower inflammation. You may notice your skin clearing up as the internal inflammation drops. You may notice better sleep because your gut is producing more serotonin. You may notice less joint stiffness because inflammatory triggers are no longer leaking into your system. Even your mood shifts because a calmer gut leads to a calmer brain. People often describe this phase as, "I feel like myself again." Even if they didn't realize they had lost that feeling, the final week is where the transformation locks in. Your gut, after nearly a month of consistent nourishment and reduced irritation, begins functioning the way it was designed to. Digestion is smoother, your immune responses are calmer, and your energy feels rooted instead of shaky. The bacteria responsible for long-term gut health are strong, stable, and well-fed. And most importantly, your body gives you feedback so clear that it becomes nearly impossible to return to old habits. You've experienced the difference. You've felt the shift. You've seen how powerful 3 simple vegetables can be when given consistently. The 30-day rule teaches you something no supplement, no shortcut, no trendy diet ever could. The body heals when you commit, when you repeat, and when you allow time for the invisible to become undeniable.